The association of women with idle and potentially even dangerous talk stretches back as far as early Greek and Roman philosophers, all right? And these writings, whose writings often valorized men and decried the comparative weaknesses of women. In History of Animals, for instance, all right, Aristotle suggests women speak falsely and are more apt towards complaining. No, you just didn't know the women. You did not know the character that is woman. Aristotle, point of correction. All right, but let us move on. The temptation here to draw a comparison to the modern ways of women may be hard to resist, right? But please do try. This impulse is just an example of how deeply entrenched the myths surrounding women's talk are. We have been labeled liars as women. We have been labeled, by the greatest man, one of the greatest people as well, Aristotle, for example, okay, the Greek philosophers. Now, these are philosophers, the upkeepers of society, all right, labeled women's talk as just nothing but lies and apt for complaining. We do not always complain. The thing that women do is go into detail. Maybe that is the bad part, when we go into details, and to our counterpart it seems as if we are complaining. Not at all, but we want you to understand and do things in a particular way that we like. We want you to understand also that this is how, or this is our understanding. Maybe in the future you will not make the same mistake. It has long been held that women's voices did not belong in public spheres. Writing in antiquity, Greek essayist Plutarch suggested that a famed statue of Aphrodite's tortoise served to illustrate that a woman's primary role was in the home and to keep silent when outside of it. I don't mean to hit on Sir Plutarch, but I don't know how you came to this conclusion by just a statue of a tortoise. I don't know. I would also maybe like to look at the statue, okay, and maybe I would get the same aspect or the same opinion, the same reference of mind that serves to say that women need to stay at home. Okay, I don't know. From a turtle, just looking at a statue of a tortoise, and Sir Plutarch got all that? Well, he was far from alone in this widespread based belief, okay? Now, public speaking was a domain for men in the ancient world. It was a place where women must keep quiet. And this also takes me back to something I once read in the Bible, where it said that should a woman have something to say in addition thereof, or a question to ask, she must not ask it in public. She must rather wait to get home and then ask her husband what they meant when they said 1, 2, 3. Or what is it that they were trying to say? We must wait until we get home to ask our husbands, who might not be in the know, what the preacher or the pastor at that time meant. We are so thankful for the growth in that we have grown in terms of language, in terms of exposure and allowance. It's not even an allowance, it's just equality, where we can also expose our opinion. We can also relay our opinion and our voices to be heard. It's not an allowance. No one allowed us. We just earned the right to speak at the table, rather than just serve the individuals seated at the table. Now, as linguistic Jennifer Couters discusses in her book, Women, Men, and Language, women are heralded as moral and virtuous, and those adhering to dominant social structured values. Right? Virtuous women, according to Aristotle, should not be involved in public affairs. Again, Mr. Aristotle, come on. Women were hindered from voicing out affairs or having an opinion on anything that was in public, all right? Those who disrupted the social order were viewed with contempt and defined as acting outside the confines of femininity. Can you imagine, dear listeners? Can you imagine? For example, Roman consul Cato the Elder chastised matrons who had the gall, the audacity to address other women's husbands with their concerns. In other words, bother your own husbands, but please don't bother anybody else's. I mean, really? Really, if I cannot talk to my husband about a particular matter, or maybe he even said, hey, we are going to have dinner with this particular man, he's coming over, maybe you should broach the subject. Maybe you should ask him for a better opinion, for a wider, different opinion. You never know, but men didn't like it when other men's wives would talk to them like, who are you? How dare you speak to me? Go and talk to my wife and she will be the one to tell me. Now we must have messengers. So women throughout the Middle Ages, let us look at a little bit the women's talk through Middle Ages, right? And I like here because we go into the gossip factor, the meaning and the origin of gossip, right? Because it goes way back, dear listeners, way back. And I'm talking 12th and 13th centuries back. All right. This tradition of treating women's public talk as untrustworthy or morally questionable continued in religious texts as well. And I'm talking in the 12th and 13th centuries, where clerical writings warned of the danger of women's false tongues. Indeed, the term old wives' tale dates back to early warnings of women's tendency to tell immoral false tales. This is horrible. This is horrible, right? Now, if you are a female listening to this, do let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will come and read them and discover as well. Let us have an open-ended conversation where we can share as the women freely talking, having our voices heard. These are the platforms for our voices. So let me hear from you, dear listener, in the comments below. You can also catch Tales of a Housewife live from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central African Time, okay? And come in here, share your opinions on different types of topics that we will be sharing there. Like this one, for example, maybe you would like an addition, an open-ended conversation. Bring it there. Our number for WhatsApp is 079-089-3671. The number again is 079-089-3671. Don't forget the country code. Don't forget the +27 country code, dear listeners. You can also catch us on different social media platforms such as Facebook. We are there as African Eyes Media. We are also on Instagram, African_Eyes_Media. We are also on Twitter, #Tales of a Housewife, #African Eyes Media, #Your Revolutionary Radio. This is where we are at. Women's talk. What do women talk about? I have discussed about why it is considered that women talk too much and those who talk too little as well, the aspects of why we women like talking in general, and details. The secrets are in the details. Women, fact file, women talk more than men. It's a fact. Now, when talking facts, a study showed that women speak approximately 30,000 words a day, and where men will only speak 7 to 15,000 words a day. Details, all right? Details, dear listeners. We go more into details, and we tend to repeat ourselves as well to make sure that whoever we are talking to has heard what I'm trying to say, or whatever we are saying is not misinterpreted. We tend to repeat ourselves for those reasons, dear listeners, nothing more. nothing less. Now, we are in the Middle Ages, where clerical writers in religion claimed that women, okay, beware of the false tongues of women, beware of women, they are always complaining. These are facts of medieval times. Fast forward a century or two, and we begin to see the very real consequences that face women's voices in domains outside the domestic. In a book examining the intersection of public talk, gender, and class during the medieval period, Sandra Bradsley explores how, after the Black Death, opportunities for the peasant class grew as the massive death toll in Europe created an economic and social void. So, Black Death, if you're wondering what is Black Death, it was a time for over 500 years, all right? Europe and Asia were plagued with a disease that claimed thousands and thousands of lives. Okay, so things were not going very well in terms of economy, in terms of also social gatherings in general. So this is like a COVID-19 of back in the days, all right? But with this being said, we see the consequences that women face today because of these stereotypes that were posed or implemented on top of women and implemented in men's conversations. We see this because women hardly have a voice, and when they do have a voice, they tend to restrict themselves, or they will start a conversation like, it might be stupid, but where she is scared to pose an opinion or maybe even come up with a better one from her counterpart's opinion. So these are kind of the problems that stemmed from way back when, dear listeners. Remember, comment in the comments below. I will read them out, and I will also comment. I will also give my own opinion. Tales of a Housewife is what you are listening to, and we are talking about what women talk about. All right, we are going into details, the things that we love talking about, why we love talking about them, and just why we love talking as women in general. Details, king and queens, details, right? But this gain in status also engendered increasing political unrest as the lower classes began to raise their voices against the highly inequitable system of local governance and taxation. Women who gave voice to concerns and aired their grievances in semi-public spheres, such as the market or spinning circles, became viewed as potentially disruptive to the social order. And you know what happened after that? They were shamed. Dear listeners, no one wanted to be shamed, particularly in a much more society that we have today. Such talk was viewed as inflammatory or dangerous. Word of mouth was essentially the internet of the Middle Ages. As a result, it was increasingly criminalized. And those who went against this order were prosecuted, all right? And what became known as sins of the tongue. In effect, the levying of these charges cast shame on our fellow women back in the days, all right? So you would be walking to the market to buy your fruits, your vegetables, whatever the case, and you would find people pointing at you, shame, 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 shame. No one wanted to be shamed in public like that. So you would find that this would be the cause why now women will be influenced to just keep quiet at the end of the day and not voice their views. But they were those fighters who, no matter what, no matter the time, no matter the age, no matter the position or geographical positioning, they would go out there and force their voices to be heard. They were forcing to be listened to. I would also like to listen to you, dear listeners. So do comment in the comments below. Click on the link that will be posted in the bio of this video. You will find it there. You will find me also on your favorite online radio, African Eyes Radio, your revolutionary radio, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central African Time. All right. But for now, let us take a little deep dive into the word gossip. The word gossip itself, all right, only took on a pejorative sense once it became associated strongly with the talk of women. Originally, the word gossip came from the God Sib, literally meaning godparent, and it was used to describe those who gathered for a christening, the birth of a child, and now they go to church for the christening of that child. Over time, it came to refer only to women at such events, and then more generally, to any gathering of women friends. It was at this point the term started to semantically deteriorate or to refer to slanderous talk associated with women. And this is where now the gossip came about, throwing away the nature of the god sib, the godparent. Now, more slanderous talk, associating gossip with slanderous talk, and it associated the slanderous talk with women, not forgetting or not overseeing the fact that men were the ones doing the slanderous talk. All right, as we move into the 18th and 19th century, we have this backdrop of demonizing of women's words in public spheres alongside growing notion of standards and purity. All right, women of good standing were expected to be exemplars of pure and standard speech, well-read women, but were often faulted with insufficiencies and also weak language in texts from time to time, such as like for example the Samuel Johnson's dictionary, and as Coates explores letters to the popular 18th century publication The World. Etiquette books from the era valorize the quiet and respectful woman while cautioning against the loud and shrill one. Coming on to women's talk in the modern age, it is from this background that we arrive at the era of modern speech. Women's voices outside domestic domains, such as workplaces, courtrooms, still face difficulties being heard, especially in male-dominated industries, adopting what has been referred to as male style of speech. It's a man's world. On the other hand, is also often subject to censure, or as discussed in research on unfavorable reactions to maybe an individual like Hillary Clinton's speech style by communication studies professor Carolyn Campbell as well. Now, it would appear that we still hold dearly to the idea that women remain the great trivializers of talk and that speech in the public domain is best left to men. You will see this in how government comes out when it is time to speak to the people. It's the man. It's the man always being in the forefront, right? Yet ask most people which is the most talkative sex, which is the most talkative gender, and they will doubtlessly offer up women. Women. Now, if you go into the school curriculum, you will find that children pass better when they have a teacher that is female. All right, there is a higher pass rate with female teachers in their subjects because they go into details when explaining that particular topic or subject, right? And you will find higher numbers of failures when it is a male teacher, because while men don't go into details, they don't compare and comprehend the types of details that we do as women. So look out for that, dear listeners. Now, do comment in your section below, like, subscribe to our channel African Eyes Media. For now, dear listeners, I am signing out. Until the next video, stay tuned to African Eyes Media, where you can use our platforms to listen to our online streaming platforms, and you can find me on my show Live and Wired from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central African Time. All right, Tales of a Housewife, Africa the Matriarch.
Among for your friend Imano Kwashi Ghana, Muma African Eyes Radio. So wopɛ sɛ wotie tete nneɛma no nso tie Africa Ice Radio.
Let's have a conversation on African Eyes Radio, your revolutionary radio. Rise up, Africa. Our unity is our strength. So let us come together with African Eyes Radio, your revolutionary radio. Sons and daughters of the soil, stay strong, stay up, stay proud. Let's elevate our minds with African Eyes Radio, your revolutionary radio.
You are listening to the Revolutionary Radio, African Eyes Radio. Now, you can also catch us on our social media platforms as African Eyes Media on Facebook. Like our page there. We are also on YouTube as African Eyes Media. All right, like, subscribe, share, comment on our YouTube channel, and we will do the same. Follow us and we will follow you. That is the nature that we are preaching on Instagram. Find us as African_Eyes_media. We are on Twitter, hashtag Tales of a Housewife, hashtag African Eyes Media, hashtag Your Revolutionary Radio. So you are still tuned in with me, Cornelia Chimalizeni, on Tales of a Housewife, exclusively only on African Eyes Radio, your revolutionary radio. Dear listeners, we are discussing what women talk about. And it is in the nature of women to just talk. We love talking. We share through talking. We listen through talking. How do you do that, Cornelia? Well, stay tuned, dear listeners, because I am going to give you all the details, all the deets. All right? Now, another popular chick flick, or in the blues, women talk freely about their troubles, personnel or personal. They are not afraid to discuss fears or self-doubt. All right, I know what you're thinking, dear man. Get me out of here. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this. This is not for me. Jeez. Oversharing much? Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Okay? No male version of Sex and the City exists. But the movie itself, Sex and the City, is the epitome explanation of what women talk about. When we get together at our tea parties, at whatever place we gather, Sex and the City, the movie, will be the exact explanation of what we get up to, how we get up to it, and everything else in between. So no male version will come out because significantly, men do not share, or they are not as open as women. You will not find men talking about, hey, you know that Viagra is not working as well as I thought it would. Or maybe, oh, you know, the wife is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Men are not built like that. Men prefer safe topics, safe subjects such as sports, finances, and work. Can you imagine two men discussing their qualms with specifics? Not at all. Men don't go into details, right? The level of disclosure is higher among women than men. This is a fact. Okay? Now, in one of my gatherings as women, okay, there was a woman. Let me tell you a story, dear listener. Get in here. There was a story of a woman. Now, she answers a phone call. I assume it was a friend or a sister or a family member. Now, they were on the phone for over an hour, dear listeners, okay? For over an hour. And her partner comes up and says, you were on the phone for a whole hour. You left me doing nothing. You know, and this is just the makeup of a woman. She can literally stay on the phone for more than an hour, and she does, because we go into detail. We have to listen to one another. We go into details so that we can understand the story. Girl, listen here. This is what happened. And he did this, so I did this. She did this, so I did this. I retaliated like this, and I said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I said it like this. Okay, we go into details. We go to the extent of explaining the demeanor in how the conversation was had. We go into the detail of the facial expressions and body language and the conclusion of the matter because of all these actions, the nitbits that we pick up. We go according also to how the voice was maybe exponentiated to another level, that she started screaming at me. Can you believe it? Okay, we go into the details of everything. That is how we understand one another. That is how we relate with one another, to one another. And that is how the nature of woman is, and I presume the lady was, it was her husband or whatever, but he was clearly annoyed that she had been on the phone for so long. Can you imagine? For example, the longest time I've been on a phone, dear listeners, was for 5 hours. But this is not 5 hours of complacent or complaining or just being on the phone, sitting somewhere and talking on the phone. No, dear listeners, this is me being on the phone, talking, all right, enjoying my conversation, and then also I'm doing something else on the other hand. I am multitasking. I'm making sure that I am cooking on time for dinner or lunch, whatever the case. I am making sure that I am baking a delicious dessert and preparing also for the next day. I am making sure that my children's homeworks are done. I am also checking and signing homework diaries. I am preparing to wash the dishes. I am throwing clothing in the washing machine, okay? I am cleaning the tabletops, the fridge. I am polishing my husband's shoes as well. All this is happening while I am 5 hours in my conversation. And you must know, we only have few people that we can actually maintain such a long hour or 5 hours, whatever the case, because we have quality conversations. We don't always just sit and gossip. That's not the case. When we gossip, it does not take as long as 5 hours to an hour to 5 hours. Not at all. Not at all. Gossip is 30 minutes max, we move on. Okay, because gossip is hearsay. We don't deal with hearsay for an hour. Okay, we deal with problems because when we are talking on the phone with our girlfriends, we become psychologists, we become therapists, we become doctors, we become trainers, we become choreographers, we become so many things in one that we cannot fit in 5 minutes. I mean, compare a phone call between bros, between men, okay? 10-15 minutes, they're done. Between girlfriends, between sisters, honey, the details take time to explain, because now we are finding the right words or the right phrase, and we are explaining so that the other one on the end of the call can get the correct picture of what we're trying to portray, right? We go into the details, okay? And we don't skip anything. Now, psychologist and corporate consultant Dr. Judith Tingley once described the differences in women and men's conversation topics. It stemmed from a sailing lesson she took with 4 men and a male instructor. In Tingley's words, she said that the majority of the conversation centered on business and money. There was no discussion of people or feelings or relationships. No one mentioned a wife, a child, a brother or a sister, not even a mother or father. The conversation was almost totally about each other and each individual man and what he had gone or done or seen, etc. Relatives to sports, business, and money. That's men conversing. Men are private about anything having to do with relationships, feelings, and emotions. They usually only disclose to significant others that they are comfortable with in private. Okay, and that is okay. That is okay. That is the nature of the man, because sometimes also it goes back on how the man is groomed, from what also, or how the man is exposed to certain things emotionally and how also the man is hindered from expressing himself too much, because that will make him more feminine, that will take away his ego or his masculinity. So we totally get it, dear man, we totally get it. And feel free, 10, 12 minutes is all right. It's all right, brother. But don't shame us. Don't stop us women from talking, because that is what we are all about. Okay, we love discussing feelings, we love discussing people, relationships, we love going into private aspects of life. Now, you'll never guess what happened to me today, right? That catches a person's attention on the go. Now, this also is from a book I read, and it is titled Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office 101. Okay, this is written by Louise Frankel. She says that women need to practice beginning their sentences with declarative statements such as I think, I feel, I believe, I intend, and I need. All right? Women often feel the need to almost trick the listener into listening to them. Instead of tricking the listener, women need to use the more assertive I, taking ownership and putting opinions on the table. No behind the scenes strategy here. So this is all in the book, dear listeners. I do urge you, if you are a woman listening to this, go and get this book, honey. It will do you justice. It will teach you with the right tips, the right time on to be assertive, how to be assertive, when to be assertive with the things you want to talk about, or with the things or the opinions you want to put on the table when things are being discussed. All right, no need to trick us with the usual you never guess what happened to me. All right, because that obviously will pull the attention of everyone in the room, because what was so special that we will not believe? What happened? What could have been so galactic that we need to pay attention to this? I want to know. Okay, don't trick us into listening, but we have to. We have to, because we don't want what we want to say to go on deaf ears, to fall on deaf ears. We want you to listen, okay? So, have you ever thought if women talk like little girls? This brings us to another common linguistic pattern that women and children share. Listen to this. We tend to use attention beginnings to bait the listener. Remember I said trick? Well, we are baiting you. For example, you're not going to believe this. Do you know? Or another one, I had a crazy thing happen to me on the way to work today. These intros sound like teasers on television news programs where they tell you to stay tuned. You don't want to miss out on the next report, right? And you just, what? I need to know what's going to happen. Or even when you're watching soapies, they cut you off. They cut you off when the good part is just about to happen. When maybe the hero of the movie or the soap that you are watching, okay, is about to profess his love or her love, okay? Or when the action is about to begin and then boom, advert. So don't trick us. Don't trick me, all right? Just go into the conversation. Another example is my brother. He hates going about the bush. When I want to ask him for something, I like oiling the engine a little bit, adding a little bit of oil, soothing and polishing the tires before I start driving the car to a point, right? And he hates it. He absolutely hates it. I take it that most men also hate it when women go around the bush just to get to one point. And he says, Cornelia, just get to the point. Just tell me what it is you would like to tell me or to share, And sometimes it's really difficult. I don't want to lose his attention, because when I start going around the bush, about the bush, when I start polishing the wheels before I put the key into the ignition, He's already hooked. He wants to hear, okay, what's the point? Get to the point, what's going on here? Okay, so that is what women do, and it is a habit that needs to also be cut, especially if you are a woman in the corporate world, if you are in business, if you are working somewhere and you are working towards a certain goal that you want to reach for a promotion, for example. Most women lose out on promotions because of these little girl tendencies that we tend to take on into our workplaces as well as in normal conversations, even at home, even communicating with our children. We need to communicate not on a childish level, but at a level as a parent where they will understand. Okay, they will understand what we are trying to teach them, or where they went wrong, or whatever we are trying to explain. We must explain from an adult point of view, from a woman's point of view, from a mother's point of view, rather than talk to them as a child communicating with another child. That does not work, dear listeners. So if you have any intel, things you would like to share as well, comment, like, in this video, and I will come up and learn from you and share as well. I want you to comment and share. Subscribe to the channel. Click on that alert button so that you never miss a video from your friendly neighborhood housewife, me, Cornelia Chimalizeni. Remember, this is Tales of a Housewife. Maybe you want to catch me on my show live and wired. All right, you can do so tuning into our radio station. The link is in the bio of this video. All right, so do stay tuned, because I will keep going into what women talk about more into detail. We will go into the history of the situation as well, just a little bit. But hit that subscribe button and follow, share. You can also get in touch with us using our WhatsApp line 079 Alright, that is in South African number, so don't forget the +27. Okay, you can also get in touch via email, info@africaneyes.co.za. Alright, we are on social media platforms as African Eyes Media. That is Facebook, that is Twitter, that is also Instagram. So find us there as African Eyes Media. #me, Tales of a Housewife. We are still talking about what women talk about. Now, going further into what women talk about, dear listeners, let us go back into history. Why do we think women talk too much? Women have long been painted as the over-talkative and gossip gender. Just consider the vast number of proverbs about women's tongues. For example, a woman's tongue wags like a lamb's tail, never still, offending. And another one, many women, many words. The fact that we seem to need a doll called Chatty Cathy, but lack of a doll like Conversant Ken. Okay, perhaps Bobby would have found him much less attractive if he tried to be more than just a macho sidekick, right? Bring it in here. Comment in this video, dear listeners. I would like to hear from you, your opinions on the matter. Why do we think women talk too much? Now, where did this pervasive ideology about the speaking styles of men and women, girls and boys come from? And why does it persevere despite research that suggests that this depiction of women's talk is far from accurate? We need to be freed from this depiction, dear listeners. It is unfair, it is a little bit sexist, and absolutely unfair and a little bit sexist. It shouldn't be happening at all. I mean, if we go back into looking at how the idle chatter of women and important men talking, that is discrimination to the T. Neighborhood housewife, me, Cornelia Chimalizeni. Remember, this is Tales of a Housewife. Maybe you want to catch me on my show, Live and Wired. All right, you can do so tuning into our radio station. The link is in the bio of this video. All right, so do stay tuned because I will keep going into what women talk about more into detail. We will go into the history of the situation as well, just a little bit. But hit that subscribe button and follow, share. You can also get in touch with us using our WhatsApp line 079 Alright, that is in South African number, so don't forget the +27. Okay, you can also get in touch via email info@africaneyes.co.za. Alright, we are on social media platforms as African Eyes Media. That is Facebook, that is Twitter, that is also Instagram. So find us there as African Eyes Media. #me, Tales of a Housewife. We are still talking about what women talk about. Now, going further into what women talk about, dear listeners, let us go back into history. Why do we think women talk too much? Women have long been painted as the over-talkative and gossip gender. Just consider the vast number of proverbs about women's tongues. For example, a woman's tongue wags like a lamb's tail, never still, offending. And another one, many women, many words. The fact that we seem to need a doll called Chatty Cathy, but lack of a doll like Conversant Ken, okay, perhaps Bobby would have found him much less attractive if he tried to be more than just a macho sidekick, right? Bring it in here. Comment in this video, dear listeners. I would like to hear from you, your opinions on the matter. Why do we think women talk too much? Now, where did this pervasive ideology about the speaking styles of men and women, girls and boys come from? And why does it persevere despite research that suggests that this depiction of women's talk is far from accurate? We need to be freed from this depiction, dear listeners. It is unfair. It is a little bit sexist.